This is topic B on page 50, searching for invalid data and formulas with errors. Although it's handy to be able to trace a cell to its precedent and dependent cells, you won't always immediately be able to recognize where an error exists within your worksheets. In these cases, you'll need a way to scan entire worksheets to locate particular types of errors out of all the data, formulas, and functions they contain. Fortunately, Excel provides you with access to two useful features for doing so: error checking and invalid data markup. Taking advantage of these features means you won't have to know ahead of time which cells contain errors, and you'll be able to scan even the largest worksheets for errors in just a few moments. So in Excel, invalid data is any cell data that does not meet the criteria specified in data validation that's applied to the cell. So in our previous examples, we entered some data validation on our date of birth cell that it was less than or equal to today's date. And we only had a warning error on this, so it did allow us to proceed with the date of May 1st, 2020. We also had data validation on our street address that it was less than or equal to 5 characters. We only had an information error on this one, so we were able to proceed as well. Now, if you had a worksheet and you wanted to scan very quickly and you didn't know exactly what data validation was applied to each cell, but you wanted to scan and quickly see what data on your worksheet that has been entered is invalid, I can go up to the Data tab on my ribbon, and in my Data Tools command group, here I have my Data Validation drop-down, and I have the option to circle invalid data. And you can see those two entries have been circled in red, because again, this date is in the future, does not meet the criteria for my data validation of less than or equal to today's date, and my street address again is more than 5 characters in length, so that is considered invalid data as well. If I were to go back and fix this, now sometimes your circles will disappear on their own once you correct the information. Sometimes you'll have to remove them yourself. This instance, you can see when I put a valid date entry in here, it did automatically remove that red circle. Also, if you're on your worksheet too long, the invalid data circles will disappear on their own again. So if too much time has lapsed, you may have to go back and recircle your invalid data. And then from this drop down, you also have the option to clear your validation circles. Even if that invalid data is left there, you can always clear them out. And again, most of the time, once you correct the data, they will remove themselves. So if I had, something that was less than 5 characters long here, I'll just enter a number. We'll do 45. That's less than 5 characters in length. So you see that circle did disappear on its own. Again, sometimes they'll disappear automatically. Sometimes you have to go and remove them yourself. Okay, in our worksheets, we also have our error checking command. And this will scan your worksheets for any errors that you may have on them. Here I have a worksheet, and I purposely put a divisible by 0 error here. Now, this is just very easy to spot this particular error, but you might have a very busy worksheet with tons of data, and you don't want to scan line by line looking for all your errors. So this isn't actually, it's kind of similar to the spell check feature. Instead of looking for spelling errors, it's looking for any formula, function, any type of calculation error. So I would want to start on cell A1, and on my Formulas tab in my Formula Auditing Command group, here I have my error checking command. And I open this up, and again, it starts something similar to the spell check, except for calculations. So it automatically flags my first error, in cell F1 for me. Shows me the error in cell F1. The formula in there is A2 divided by A7, which is 86 divided by an empty cell. So this gives me the divide by zero error. The formula or function used is dividing by zero or empty cells, which is what I have here, an empty cell, so that is considered zero. Now the options here that you have to the right, you can get help on this error, and this will open your Excel help window to a little article describing what that error means. And you can read through that to get help on it. You can show the calculation steps. This will open up your evaluate formula dialog box. And remember here, the underlined portion is the next step that it will evaluate. So it will exactly show you what is throwing that error in your equation or your function. You have the option to ignore the error and keep that on your worksheet, or you can edit it in the formula bar. So when I click here, it puts my cursor in my formula bar, and I could go back and fix that entry. So maybe I meant to do cell A2 divided by cell A6. Then I can hit my resume button from here to see if that corrects it, which it should, and it will tell you the error check is complete for the entire sheet. If you have any additional errors on your worksheet, it will then move to the second one, or you'll be able to fix that, and so on and so forth until it scans your whole entire worksheet and you will get this message. And you can see no longer do I have that number symbol and div/0, divisible by 0. Your next video will be activity 3.2 on page 54.